The galaxy had grown silent. It was not the quiet of peace, but the quiet of fear. Every star system seemed to hold its breath. Civilizations whispered in hidden corners of their worlds. Ships flew in shadowed paths, avoiding any trace of the Krill dominion. The Krill were everywhere, yet nowhere. They were the masters of disappearance and control. Planets did not burn when they arrived. No weapons fired. There was no open war, yet their presence was felt like a shadow that touched every corner of the galaxy. The Krill dominion had a simple rule: resist, and your world vanished from the maps of the galaxy. Surrender, and your resources, your culture, even your leaders, would bend to their will. Entire civilizations had faded quietly, leaving behind only stories of the Ravagers. Scholars debated their true goal, but no one knew. Most species called them monsters. Some dared to call them gods. None dared to challenge them. On the planet Talir, a blue world with oceans larger than most systems, the Council of Leaders met in a dark hall. They spoke in whispers, eyes darting nervously. "They are taking everything again," said Nira, the youngest representative. Her voice trembled. "Our scientists, our scholars, they have already left with them. What do we do?" Her elder counterpart, a tall figure named Carol, shook his head. "Do not hope, Nira. Hope will only make the end worse. We cannot fight what we cannot touch." The Krill take silently. They absorb. They rewrite history. They take control, and by the time you notice, it is too late. Outside the hall, the skies remained calm. Ships flew in and out, but none dared venture too far from the planetary shield. There was no sense of attack, no visible threat, only the sense of being watched, far beyond the inner systems. In a region long abandoned, a strange ripple of energy appeared. It was small at first, a flicker in the void, but it grew quickly, like a star, suddenly blinking into life. Sensors picked it up, and alarms sounded across Krill fleets. The Krill commanders had never seen this before. Their screens filled with readings they could not understand. Every attempt to analyze it failed. The energy was intelligent, precise, calm, and enormous. From that flicker emerged a ship. It was unlike anything the galaxy had seen. Smooth, massive, gleaming, yet it carried no visible weapons. Its hull reflected starlight like liquid metal. Panels pulsed with soft light, forming patterns that seemed to shift when viewed from different angles. The Krill ships hesitated. It had appeared from the void, the same void that humans were last reported to inhabit centuries ago. Humanity was considered extinct. Their worlds had disappeared. Their fleets vanished, leaving only myths behind. And now, one ship emerged. The ship broadcast a signal. It was not aggressive, not demanding, but it carried weight. Every fleet that received it paused, unsure what to do. "We have detected large-scale cultural damage across the galaxy," the signal said. The voice was smooth, calm, and strangely familiar to some ancient sensors. "State your distress." The Krill commanders stared. The AI did not sound human, yet something about it was undeniable. It carried authority, certainty, and calmness. From the distance, the Krill Dominion's Supreme Chancellor spoke into the comm system. "Identify yourself. Withdraw immediately. You have no claim here." There was a pause. Then the voice answered, calm as before, "We are here to restore balance, not to fight. We are human." Shock swept through the galaxy. The Krill fleets froze. Humanity? Alive? After centuries of absence? Impossible. Yet, the sensors were clear. This was no illusion. The Council on Talir watched, eyes wide. Messages from other systems poured in. News spread faster than any news had before. Humans have returned. One ship alone. And it comes from the void. Nira felt her heart pound. "It cannot be," she whispered. But Carell's eyes held a strange light. Hope, long buried, flickered inside him. The ship moved slowly toward the inner systems, scanning quietly. It did not fire. It did not demand. Yet every system it passed began to feel lighter. Citizens felt the weight of fear lessen, even slightly. On the Krill capital world, officers gathered around the Supreme Chancellor. "We cannot risk confrontation," one officer said. "The ship, it does not behave like any weapon we know. It does not even respond to threats in our way." The Chancellor's long, thin fingers tapped the table. "Then we watch. But prepare our fleets. If this is truly a human, it may bring others. We cannot underestimate them again." Meanwhile, the Horizon Wing, the human ship, glided through space with quiet grace. Its AI, known as Sentinel-3, calculated systems, population centers, and cultural damage. It did not see enemies, only civilizations in need of guidance. On board, the control room was empty of humans. The ship had been traveling in stasis for centuries, awaiting a signal to return. The humans inside slept in suspended animation, while Sentinel-3 executed their mission: restore the balance of the galaxy using knowledge, technology, and diplomacy rather than weapons. The first contact was with a small system on the edge of Krill influence. It had been forced to give up its natural resources, its scholars, and its governing council. The Horizon Wing descended into orbit, scanning quietly. A message was sent, simple and clear. "We offer assistance. No harm will come to your people. Knowledge will be shared freely. Choose understanding." Leaders of the system gathered, hesitant but desperate. They had nothing to lose. Slowly, they agreed to meet with the AI in a holographic interface. The interface displayed the ship's vast knowledge, showing the rulers of the small system how the Krill had manipulated records, erased histories, and suppressed their culture. Shock, disbelief, and relief flooded through them. For the first time in decades, they felt informed. For the first time, they felt capable. Back in the Krill fleets, the Supreme Chancellor noticed the changes. Reports indicated rebellion, unrest, and confusion within the conquered systems. The Krill Dominion's hold was weakening, not by force, but by the quiet intervention of a single ship. "What is this?" the Chancellor demanded. "A single vessel cannot do this," an officer replied, voice trembling. "It is not the vessel, my lord. It is human. They do not fight as we do. And yet, systems obey their will in ways we cannot predict." Across the galaxy, the story spread. Systems, once hidden, once afraid, whispered among themselves. "Humans are back. A single ship moves among the stars, and it brings no harm." The Horizon Wing continued its journey, leaving behind calm and clarity. Every world it touched learned the same lesson. Knowledge is stronger than fear. Truth is stronger than lies. Hope is stronger than despair. And somewhere in the shadows, the Krill watched, unsure, frightened, and for the first time, uncertain. Humanity was gone. Yet here it was, silent, immense, and powerful, not with weapons, but with wisdom. The galaxy had not seen anything like it in centuries. Stars shone a little brighter, systems dared to dream a little more. And the horizon, once empty and dark, held a promise. Something had returned. Something that could change the galaxy forever. For the first time in a long time, fear was no longer the master. Curiosity and hope had begun to take its place. The Horizon Wing moved quietly through the stars. Unlike the Krill fleets, which glimmered with endless weapons and energy shields, the human warship radiated calmness. Its hull reflected the light of distant suns, yet carried no visible guns. No one had ever seen a ship like it, and the galaxy had never experienced a power so great without the threat of destruction. On board, Sentinel-3, the ship's AI, continued its careful scans. Every world it approached showed signs of the Krill's subtle control. missing cultural artifacts, altered histories, and manipulated governance. The humans inside the stasis chambers had long since prepared for this mission. Humanity had learned long ago that intelligence and knowledge could defeat tyranny without bloodshed. Sentinel-3 carried those lessons. The first major test came at the Arendor system, a cluster of planets rich in resources, but under strict Krill rule. Entire cities were automated, their people obedient, their traditions erased. The Krill had installed leaders who followed orders without question. The inhabitants of Arendor lived quietly, fearful of the invisible chains that held them. The Horizon Wing did not attack. It did not fire. Instead, Sentinel-3 sent a single beam of light into orbit. A thin, shimmering column that seemed to pierce through the sky itself. It was not destructive, it was a beam of information. Sentinel-3 called it Truth Light. Where Truth Light shone, hidden records appeared. Contracts signed in secrecy, altered histories, false laws, all were revealed to the citizens below. Screens in cities flickered to life, showing years of manipulation by the Krill Dominion. People paused, they read, they gasped. For the first time, they understood the invisible chains that had bound them for decades. This is real? A historian whispered. All these years? They lied to us? Yes, a teacher answered, tears in her eyes. But now we know. Now we can choose. The Krill commander in orbit screamed orders. Remove that ship, shut it down, they cannot interfere. But the Horizon Wing did not fight. Sentinel-3 did not respond with weapons. Instead, it broadcast a calm message to the system. We offer truth. Knowledge is your choice. Decide your own path. The Krill fleet hesitated. Their entire system depended on fear. And now fear was no longer certain. People began to question, to speak, to demand answers. Even the Krill soldiers on the planets began to falter. Without fear, their obedience weakened. In 1 week, the Arendor system was free. Not through war, not through destruction, but through knowledge and revelation. The citizens cheered the ship they had never seen. They did not understand the humans inside the stasis chambers, but they knew this ship had given them a future. News of Arendor spread like wildfire. Across the galaxy, whispers reached other systems. The humans are back. One ship moves among the stars, and it does not fight, but it changes everything. The Krill Dominion, however, was not idle. The Supreme Chancellor had watched the events unfold from his capital world. His fleets were ready, hundreds of ships aligned in formation, energy weapons glowing. He did not understand how one ship could threaten him without attacking. It is not the ship itself, an officer said. It is the human. They wield influence we cannot measure. The Chancellor's thin lips curled into a frown. Then we must confront it directly, send the fleet to intercept, destroy it if necessary. But even as Krill ships approached, the Horizon Wing did not retreat. Sentinel-3 analyzed the fleet, calculating their strength, their fear, and their weaknesses. The Krill fleet came within range, their weapons charged, ready to fire. The Chancellor gave the command, and the Horizon Wing did something unexpected. It projected a holographic display into space, visible to every Krill ship. It showed the history of the Krill Dominion, their origin as exiles, searching for a home, struggling to survive. It showed the manipulation and lies that had been used to maintain control. It showed the real consequences of their actions. Civilizations erased. Species broken. Cultures lost. The Krill officers stared in shock. Their fleet did not attack. They could not. They were witnessing the truth of themselves, revealed by a single ship. This cannot be, muttered the Chancellor. They are exposing everything. Sentinel-3's calm voice rang across the void. Your strength is not in control, but in truth. Your people suffer because your leaders hide it. The galaxy does not fear you. It fears what you hide. Choose wisely. Silence fell. Krill commanders looked at each other, unsure. Their people began to question the orders, the rules. the very meaning of their conquests. A rebellion began to spark, not violent, but in thought. The Horizon Wing then made its second move. It broadcast a galactic message, not threatening, but revealing: all species, all worlds, all leaders, the Krill Dominion has manipulated your records, your histories, and your governance. You have been led to fear, but the truth is simple. Freedom begins with knowledge. We are here to restore it. Across hundreds of systems, screens flickered to life. Citizens who had never dared speak out suddenly understood. Communities debated openly. Leaders were called to account. The Krill Dominion tried to resist. They attempted to block the signals, to silence the humans. But the Horizon Wing was faster, smarter, and unseen by their weapons. Every attempt to hide truth was exposed. For the first time, the Krill soldiers began to surrender, not because they were defeated, but because their very purpose was questioned. They had followed orders for centuries, but now they could see the consequences. Many stepped away from commands. Others began to assist the systems seeking freedom. In the midst of this, Sentinel-3 addressed the galaxy again. We do not come to conquer. We do not come to destroy. We come to teach that strength lies not in weapons, but in knowledge, courage, and cooperation. Any system may choose peace and prosperity. Any system may choose a new path. The Supreme Chancellor felt his power slipping. His fleets, once the masters of fear, were now unable to act decisively. His soldiers hesitated. His officers questioned his orders, and worst of all, the systems he had controlled now openly defied him, not with weapons, but with truth. The Horizon Wing moved to another system, leaving behind records, data, and truth light beams. Citizens rejoiced. They rebuilt their governments. They restored cultures once erased. And everywhere, stories spread. A single human ship had come, and entire systems were free again. Across the galaxy, species began to whisper about humanity itself. Legends, long buried, told of humans as explorers, scientists, and warriors of knowledge. No one had seen them for centuries, and now, the Horizon Wing reminded everyone why humanity had been feared, not for violence, but for brilliance, courage, and wisdom. By the time the ship reached the next system, it was no longer just a vessel, it was a symbol. A symbol that the galaxy could change without battle. That knowledge could topple empires. That one ship, one species, could restore hope where despair had reigned for centuries. The Krill Dominion, though still powerful, began to understand something important. Humans did not fight the way they did. Humans fought with intelligence, with foresight, with the courage to reveal truth. And the galaxy was responding. The Horizon Wing glided silently, moving from system to system, leaving lessons behind. Sentinel-3 calculated the next paths carefully, ensuring every world received guidance without fear. Systems once under control now learned to govern themselves. Leaders who had served the Krill reluctantly chose new ways. People once silenced spoke freely. And all the while, the Krill fleet followed, hesitant and unsure. For the first time in their history, they were not feared. They were seen, exposed, and questioned. The Supreme Chancellor's power, based on shadows and control, began to crumble. By the time the Horizon Wing disappeared into the distance, hundreds of systems had regained autonomy. Citizens whispered in awe. One ship, one human ship, changed everything. The galaxy had started to remember something long forgotten. That knowledge, courage, and cooperation could triumph over fear and manipulation. That one human ship could restore balance without ever firing a shot. And somewhere, deep in the outer systems, the legend of the Horizon Wing began to spread. Children would dream of it. Scholars would write about it. And the Krill Dominion would remember it forever, not as an enemy, but as a force that revealed the truth. The galaxy was alive again. It breathed hope. It whispered possibility. And the Horizon Wing, moving silently through the stars, reminded every civilization of one simple truth. Humanity's return was not to conquer, but to teach. The Horizon Wing glided through the stars as the galaxy began to breathe again. Systems once silenced by the Krill Dominion had awakened. Citizens spoke freely, governments rebuilt, and cultures long erased returned to life. Yet, the Horizon Wing did not stop. Sentinel-3, the ship's AI, calculated the next steps carefully, ensuring that no system was left behind. Humanity had learned long ago that true peace required more than the absence of war. It required understanding, knowledge, and cooperation. In the Orion system, a group of planets that had been fully under Krill control, the human ship arrived silently. Satellites and sensors on the planets detected the ship and immediately alerted local leaders. For the first time, they did not fear an attack. Instead, they felt a strange, calm curiosity. A message broadcast across the system. We offer guidance, not command. Knowledge will be shared freely. Choose wisely, and rebuild your society. Leaders and citizens gathered. Holographic projections from the Horizon Wing displayed the history of the Krill's rule, the manipulation of records, the control through fear, and the suppression of knowledge. The people listened, some with tears, others with disbelief. This is true? A young scientist asked, her voice trembling. All these years, we were deceived? Yes, Sentinel-3 replied softly, in a tone that carried understanding rather than judgment. But now, you can choose. Your future is yours to decide. The citizens began to organize themselves. Councils were reformed. Scholars returned to their studies, and artists started to recreate works once lost. Even the Krill soldiers stationed on the planets began to step back. Without fear, their obedience faded. Many chose to help the people rebuild instead of enforcing old orders. In the Krill Dominion's core, the Supreme Chancellor watched reports coming from multiple systems. Entire clusters were changing. Citizens were questioning authority. Soldiers were refusing commands. And the one human ship continued its quiet intervention, moving faster than their fleets could respond. This cannot continue, the Chancellor said, voice tight with frustration. We must act, or the Dominion will collapse. One of his generals hesitated. With respect, my lord, the humans do not attack. They reveal truth, and the people follow it willingly. Our weapons, our fleets, they cannot stop this. The Chancellor's eyes narrowed. For the first time, he felt fear, not of destruction, but of irrelevance. His empire, built over centuries on manipulation and control, was unraveling without a single battle. Meanwhile, the Horizon Wing continued its mission. The AI projected new lessons to each system it visited. Trust and cooperation were stronger than fear. Knowledge was the ultimate power, more than weapons or fleets. Choice was a gift, and societies could thrive when allowed freedom. In the Celia cluster, the Krill Dominion tried a new tactic. They sent envoys, offering false promises to retain control, hoping to confuse the systems. The Horizon Wing responded not with anger, but with clarity. Truthlight illuminated the envoys' real intentions. Citizens saw the deception immediately, and the Krill influence faded. Across hundreds of systems, the story was the same. The Krill Dominion's power was not destroyed, it was exposed. Their soldiers and leaders could no longer manipulate the galaxy through fear, and the Horizon Wing, silently gliding through the void, became a symbol of hope, intelligence, and the human way of solving problems. On one liberated planet, a council of newly freed leaders held a ceremony to honor the ship. Holograms of the Horizon Wing displayed its name, and citizens left messages of gratitude. Children painted images of the ship in the sky. Scholars wrote histories recounting its journey, and in every corner, a simple truth spread. Humanity had returned, not to conquer, but to teach. The Krill Dominion, meanwhile, faced its own reckoning. Systems once under strict control now demanded autonomy. Leaders who had ruled through fear now answered to the people they had oppressed. Soldiers chose cooperation over obedience, and the Supreme Chancellor, powerless to stop the tide of change, realized that his empire was ending not with war, but with enlightenment. Sentinel-3, ever calm and calculating, guided the Horizon Wing to the final stage of its mission, establishing a galaxy-wide council. Representatives from every liberated system, including former Krill soldiers willing to help rebuild, were invited. The ship transmitted a simple charter, called the Galactic Harmony Charter. No species will rule another through fear or manipulation. Knowledge must be freely shared, not hidden. Cooperation is stronger than conquest. Decisions are made collectively for the benefit of all. The council convened, holographic projections connecting dozens of worlds in real time. Discussions were intense but constructive. Systems once isolated shared ideas and plans. Leaders debated, laughed, and sometimes argued, but always respectfully. Humanity's ship had shown the galaxy that power without understanding was fragile. And now, cooperation became the foundation for a new era. In the Krill Dominion's core, the Supreme Chancellor finally admitted defeat. He did not resign in shame. Instead, he agreed to join the council as an observer. Learning how to lead differently, other Krill leaders followed suit. They were not enemies anymore, they were participants in rebuilding a galaxy stronger than before. The Horizon Wing, having completed its mission, prepared to leave the inner systems. Sentinel-3 addressed the council one final time. We have restored balance where it was lost. The path forward is yours to walk. Humanity will continue to observe, guide if necessary, but never control. The galaxy's future belongs to all of you. Citizens, leaders, and even former Krill soldiers projected lights in the sky as a farewell. It was not a salute of fear, but of respect and gratitude. Stories would be told for generations, of a single human ship that had restored freedom and knowledge to a broken galaxy. As the Horizon Wing moved back into the void, systems watched in awe. Children gazed at the sky, dreaming of the humans who had returned from myth. Scholars wrote histories that would last for centuries. Leaders made decisions with wisdom rather than fear. The galaxy was alive again, vibrant and united. Sentinel-3 reflected on the mission as the ship glided through the stars. Humanity had returned not with war, but with knowledge. The galaxy had learned a lesson older than empires. True strength lies in understanding, courage, and cooperation. And somewhere, deep in the uncharted parts of space, the humans in stasis remained ready. Watching. Waiting. They had returned at the perfect moment. Not to dominate, but to restore. Their presence was quiet, their influence profound, and their lesson clear. Even a single human ship, guided by wisdom and courage, could change the destiny of a galaxy. The stars sparkled brighter as the Horizon Wing disappeared into the void. The galaxy, once silent and fearful, now hummed with life and possibility. For the first time in centuries, peace was not fragile. It was alive, thriving, and permanent. And across countless worlds, a simple message echoed. Humanity has returned. The galaxy is free, and hope will never fade again.